What's up, everyone? Good to see you. Another at-home edition of Sweat presented by DraftKings coming at you. I'm Emerson Lotzia. In the next 55 minutes, we're going to look back at a 15-goal NHL playoff game and who to roster in a couple game twos on the ice tonight. The Heat and Celtics will go at it. Which bets to chase there, and fresh NFL season specials to break down on the DK Sportsbook. We saw like Nick Pivetta breaking down the Astros lineup last night. Just the fourth complete game, by the way, this season. So let's go ahead and start on the diamond. What do we got? DraftKings contributors Gary, he's here. Steve Buchanan, RotoWire's Eric Halterman, all here to cover the bases. First base. Who's your favorite DFS play on this short 3-game main slate tonight, Steven? Pitcher or hitter?
Yeah, I hate the scheduling when it's like the 3 games on a Thursday night. That's
terrible.
That's
what are we doing here, man?
Right. But you know what? Let's just be happy. A month and a half ago, we thought we weren't even going to have a sport. With that being said, Michael Brantley going against Glenn Otto tonight. I think this is a really solid spot for Brantley, who's been like on one lately at the plate. You look at the numbers for Glenn Otto throughout his career, which only spans, about a year and a few months here, against lefties, 4.18 FIP, a 4.06 WOBA. This has really been a tough spot for Glenn Otto going against the Astros, who, aside from that start against Nick Pivetta, have been hitting very, very well. When you hit 5 home runs in an inning, I think your team is locked in, or maybe that's more about Nathan Eovaldi just can't keep the ball in the park. With that being said, yeah, that was brutal. With that being said, Brantley at 4K tonight is in a really solid spot. Slim pickings tonight. Brantley's one of your guys in the outfield.
Congratulations about the Mariners being in town too. I'm sure you'll be camped out at Fenway for the next 4 days.
Can't wait, baby. Can't wait.
All right. Gary Bear, talk to me here, dude.
I basically had a note written down that was, if Steve talks about Zach Gallen, pivot to left-handed Astros batters. If he talks about left-handed Astros batters, you get to talk about Zach Gallen. Look, I'm not going to come in here and paint a picture of some beautiful world where Zach Gallen, nice pivot play tonight. He's going to be like 65% owned on this slate. But the fact of the matter is there's only 6 starting pitchers. You got to choose 2 of them. So I'm not that worried about eating the chalk here with Gallen, who's in a fantastic matchup against the Cubs. They have been hitting slightly better as of late. I think the Pittsburgh Pirates pitching staff is probably a big reason for that. Zach Gallen is much better than the collection of arms they have faced the last 3 days. And for the season, or for the month of May as a whole, Chicago has the lowest WRC plus of any team in the National League. They have the second highest strikeout rate, up over 27%. Gallen's got a 1.87 expected ERA, 7 strikeout to walk ratio so far this season, 27% strikeout rate. He's doing everything you could possibly ask. He's one of the best pitchers in the National League when he's healthy, and he's healthy. So just use Zach Gallen.
All right, Eric, who's your favorite DFS play tonight? 3-game main slate.
I like Julio Rodriguez at just 3,300. As long as he's sitting in this range, I think I'm going to keep going back there pretty frequently. Huge talent, came in with tons of hype, the kind of hype that we'd normally attach to somebody who would sit, close to 5,000 in these contests. His season numbers still aren't very good because he was terrible in his first 12 games, in part because he seemed to be getting screwed by umpires at like historical rate. Some of the studies showing how many called third strikes that were called incorrectly on him, he was like halfway to the season record after a couple of weeks or something like that. He had a 367 OPS and a strikeout rate north of 45 for first 12 games. In his last 25, though, he's got that OPS up to 816, striking out 25% of the time, which is a little high, but completely fine. He also has 11 steals on the season, so he's contributing even when he doesn't hit. He'll get the platoon advantage against Rich Hill, drafted out of college when Rodriguez was 1.5 years old. Has an ERA under 3 this season, but isn't really supporting that. I'm going to stick with Rodriguez at least until he gets up over 4,000. I think he's a guy you have to look at almost every night.
Let's go to second base here. Let's go to the DK Sportsbook. Hook me up with a bet that you like for the early games.
Yeah, I'm looking at a player prop. Cal Quantrill's strikeout prop seems a little out of whack. It's up at 4.5. Quantrill's only struck out 5 more batters in a start this season once in his 6 outings. It just seems a little off. You do have to pay some juice on this. I understand that, but Quantrill's just not a strikeout pitcher. I mean, you look at the 108 pitchers who have thrown at least 30 innings so far this season. His 14% strikeout rate ranks 103rd in that group. The Reds, to their credit, have also been a different offense the past couple of weeks. I mean, this is a team that struck out in over 25% of their plate appearances in the month of April. The past 2 weeks, their strikeout rate as a team is down to 22.2%. So with the trends and with the fact that, again, Quantrill's just not a guy with a huge strikeout pitch, I think we go under 4.5 strikeouts today.
Bukes, what's your bet for the early games? 5 of them to choose from, which is 2 more than the late.
Yeah, boy, at what I was trying to sit here and quiz myself on what number would I actually take the under on the White Sox and Royals game, because the over under in that one is set at 9.5. Talk about 2 guys that absolutely stink taking the mound this afternoon. Vincent Velasquez, Mr. I've just been getting by the skin of my teeth, finally gets exposed against the Yankees of all teams, because of course they do. Last time out, 7 runs on 8 hits through just 5 innings. And you have Carlos Hernandez, who faced the Rockies at Coors Field to his and the Orioles. In those 2 starts, he's given up 15 runs in those ones. Now he's facing the White Sox, who are vastly underperforming. Their advanced stats, like their expected batting average to their actual batting average, is almost like a 30-point difference at this point. Yet they're one of the top teams in the league in hard hit rate. So that says everything you need to know about how those bats have been performing. But 9.5 runs in this game. Give me the over in that one. I would not be surprised if this game hits this total early. Even in the first 5 innings, you can get over 4 runs. I'll take that too as well. These are 2 starting pitchers who are not going to go deep in this game, give up a ton of production. So give me over 9.5 runs with a bonus over 4.5 runs through the first 5.
Look at that. Eric, do you have a bonus bet for us for the early slate?
I have a bonus that I'll give you the one that I almost liked, which was Royals plus 125 in that game Steve was just talking about, because man, plus money against Vince Velasquez is appealing. But then I saw Hernandez's ERA starts with a 9. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was a 9.11. So I don't think I can do that one with any confidence. What I do like, though, is Phillies Padres to go over 8 runs. It's a minus 105. Yu Darvish on the Padres side might be done, or at least done as a frontline starter. He never had a strikeout rate below 27% in his major league career, but it's below 20% this season. All he's really doing is avoiding walks at this point, and it's led to a 4.62 ERA. Just gave up 5 runs on 9 hits against Atlanta. Then Kyle Gibson on the other side. We know who Kyle Gibson is at this point. He's a fine major league starter, but not much more than that. 4.10 ERA. Keeps the ball on the ground. That's about all he does. Strikeout rate under 20% for him as well. So I think we're going to see some runs in Citizens Bank Park here.
All right, third base, the hot corner. Steve, you're hot. Favorite player prop in tonight's 3 games?
Wow, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's the 3rd time someone has said that to me today.
Is that true? Wow.
Yep. Me in my basement. Dalton Varsho to go over 1.5 bases tonight against Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman has had a horrific start to his Cubs career thus far. And one of the biggest things about Stroman is that he keeps the ball on the ground. And while he has been doing that well, as usual, 45% of the time, his fly ball rate has been up over 8% so far this season. And Varsho, for his credit, has been really hitting righties very well. And in those scenarios, hitting for a ton of power, 234 isolated power in that scenario of the 24 hits that he has against righties, 5 doubles and 6 home runs. So he's been clearing that over 1.5 bases mark often when he's been getting hits against in these type of matchups. So give me him over 1.5 bases at minus 105. Should be hitting leadoff for the Diamondbacks tonight.
All right, Gare Bear.
I'm just going to continue my pessimism for the strikeout artistry of some of the pitchers on today's slate. Framber Valdez under 5.5 strikeouts. I know he's gone over this number in his past 2 starts. I think those have been particularly special circumstances against very weak teams. Framber is not a strikeout pitcher. This number should be 4.5. It's weird that it's not. This is someone who has a not even middle of the road strikeout rate. If you look into the deep numbers, he is only 28th percentile in his strikeout rate so far this season. He is 16th percentile in his chase rate among qualified pitchers. He just doesn't generate that many swings and misses. And Texas doesn't really have that large a strike rate against left-handed pitching so far this season, just 21.7%. They swing often and early. Texas's swing rate is up over 50% in the month of May. They just don't really work deep counts. And that is something Framber is more than willing to do. He's a ground ball specialist. I just don't think he gets anywhere close to 6 strikeouts in this game. So I will take another under.
Eric, hook me up with your favorite player prop on the main slate tonight.
Yeah, I like the directions both of those two were going in. I'm going to stick closer to Steve's here. Talk about Alec Thomas. I like you can get him to homer at plus 600. You can get him just to have a hit at minus 195. Same reason, don't trust what Marcus Stroman's doing these days. And Alec Thomas came up with plenty of hype, and he's delivering so far, hitting 315 with 905 OPS through his first 11 games. Pretty good strikeout rate as well. 16.7% strikeout rate means he's making plenty of contact, should have plenty of opportunities to get a hit. So I like him and really a lot of the Diamondbacks here against Stroman.
All right, easy. Take us home here, dude. Which run total are you targeting in the 3 games tonight?
Yeah, let's go with the Seattle-Boston game to go over 8.5 runs. Fenway Park is the second most hitter-friendly venue, according to StatCast's 3-year park factors. Only Coors Field in terms of total numbers of runs scored. The 2 pitchers, George Kirby on the Mariners side, definitely an exciting prospect. I like him for season-long leagues, and he could well have a good night here. Had a 30% strikeout rate against just a 4.4 walk rate in the minors, so there's a lot to like, but I wouldn't trust him to have immediate consistent success, as he's shown. I mean, he had 6 shutout innings in his debut against the Rays, followed that up with just a 4-inning appearance with 1 strikeout in his second start. He could well go off here, but I'm not a rookie to be consistently strong. On the other side, I already talked about Rich Hill, doesn't really offer that much. I mean, he's 42, so good for him for offering anything at all. But that 2.89 ERA isn't sustainable. Most of the ERA estimators are in the low 4s. Doesn't really strike guys out or keep the ball on the ground. So I think we'll get at least 9 runs here tonight.
Okay, Steve, you want to target your ballpark there?
I was thinking about it, but let's go a little different here. Not many games to choose from with 3,
No.
right? And the team that I'm targeting involves a team that's only hit the over 4 times this month. Talking about the Houston Astros. They have been an under machine, but tonight's matchup against the Rangers, who have been one of the better teams at hitting the over, which is not something you can say about most teams in Major League Baseball, but I like the over 8 runs in this one. I do like the matchup, as we mentioned earlier, going up against Glenn Otto. And then on the Houston side, we're talking about a pure contact pitcher, in Valdez. The Rangers can make plenty of contact. We know that. And Gary mentioned earlier, they don't strike a ton either. So 8 runs just feels like maybe a run too short here. So I'll take over 8 runs in this game, but it's going to be a scary one. Because like I mentioned, Houston cannot hit the over at all this season.
Unless they're hitting 5 home runs in an inning against Nathan Eovaldi.
Correct.
All right, Garion, help us out here.
So Steve mentioned the Astros are a team that don't hit the over very often. Another team that falls into that category, in fact, they've hit the under at the highest clip in the National League, is the Arizona Diamondbacks. And while I am a little bit worried about Marcus Stroman coming to the IL to make this start, I'm a little worried about the fact the wind is blowing out tonight at Wrigley, something you do always have to consider when you look at these over-under bets in Chicago. I think the combination of Zach Gallen going up against this Chicago offense, which again, lowest WRC plus of any National League team month of May. I think Gallen does enough here. He does his part to keep the Cubs off the scoreboard, or at least mostly off the scoreboard. And then Stroman, who, look, of the Chicago Cubs pitchers, I probably still trust more than most of them. At least he has some pedigree, track record, and his final 2 starts before going on the IL were actually his 2 best starts of the season. So there's a little bit of reason to be optimistic heading into that IL stint. I think there's enough there to keep this game under 8.5. It seems like a really big number for these 2 offenses.
All right, guys, good stuff. Appreciate all the help. We've got some playoff games to talk about around the NBA, but first we'll start with a couple game 2s in the NHL right after this quick break. Back here on the Sweat. Good to have you here with us. In case you missed it, the first postseason battle of Alberta in 31 years did not disappoint. So the Flames get a hat trick from Matthew Tkachuk to outlast the Oilers 9-6. They grabbed one of the second round series. That was Wednesday night. We saw the most goals in postseason in a postseason game in 3 decades, 29 years. Meanwhile, over in Carolina, an absolute snoozle compared to our neighbors of the north. 2-1 overtime win over the Rams. Let's get after it here with this all-star panel. NHL.com's Anna Dua, RotoWire's AJ Schultz, Paul Bruno here for some opening face-off because we got a couple game twos tonight. But real quick here, Paul, we're going to be seeing more like nail biters on the East Coast and then just goals galore out west. What's going on?
You know what? It's an old-fashioned shootout in the Wild West, and I loved it. I hope we get more and more of that stuff. I want to see some dropping of gloves too. The threatening, the glances. There were too many there without any punches thrown. So that's what was missing for me.
All right, Anna, last night was insane. What were you thinking watching that play out?
It was absolutely insane. Those 2 games couldn't be any more opposite. I thought that first game was going to end up only having 1 goal. Carolina obviously fought back and won in overtime, but then you go over up north to the west and you see all these goals. Edmonton tying the game 6-6, but then Calgary coming out top. Whoever bet the over probably is cheering today. So it was great to watch. I hope it continues. I think that's going to be a pretty close series.
All right, yeah. Imagine betting the under in that one, AJ.
or even worse, imagine coming on here and recommending using Markstrom yesterday. That did not look like a good take. I also would like to know who had Ian Cole scoring a postseason goal on their bingo card. Not one that you're going to see too often, despite the fact that he is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion.
All right, now I need your recommendations for who to stuff inside these lineups tonight, lady and gentlemen. Tampa and Colorado took the first game in their respective series. So who's the center you're paying up for tonight, Anna?
So I'm actually going to go with a little bit of a better deal as one of the options, Nick Paul for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So he's playing a bigger role with the absence of Braden Point, and he's really found his fit with Tampa since coming over from Ottawa. Had 14 points in 21 games with the Lightning in the regular season compared to 18 points in 59 games with the Senators before he made his way down south. So he's really found his fit with this team. His production is continuing into the postseason. Sorry, Paul, but he had those 2 goals against the Leafs in Game 7 to help Tampa reach this point. So I think he's a great option. If not him, Ryan O'Reilly for the St. Louis Blues. He's had a goal in every single game except for one this postseason. Was great against Colorado in the regular season. 4 points, 3 goals, 1 assist in just 2 games. So either of those 2 would be a great option.
All right, AJ, who's your center tonight?
I'm going to stick with Nathan McKinnon. I mean, I know the price tag is huge at $9K. It's $1,600 more expensive than Alexander Barkov, who's next on there. But look, game point streak, averaging a ridiculous 7.4 shots per game in the postseason here. He's just too good for me to leave out of your lineup. On the smaller slate, you probably have to pick and choose your top-end guys here, but I think Nathan McKinnon is worth the price.
Okay, how high are you going up here in center, Paul?
Well, there's a saying that the series is not on until the home team loses a game, and that already happened to Florida, and they can't afford to go down 2-0. And look at the stat line of Alex Barkov, though, in games, and 5 shots on goal, 23 minutes played. I think if he gets the same ice time and the same shot volume, there's no way he's going to be kept silent on the score sheet. So I'm going to gladly pay up to grab him. And I also would like to pair him with Nazem Kadri of the Avs. $6,000, that low price tag. Avs number 2 center. He plays in all the high leverage minutes on the power play and so on. And in the first game, he had 5 shots as well, 3 hits, a blocked shot. That added up to about 16.5 DK points. And I think that's his floor in game number 2 because he's going to be back in all those high octane search situations. And I think he capitalizes this evening.
Yeah, I think the Panthers are just kind of sick of playing little brother there to the Lightning in the Sunshine State. So, AJ, I mean, speaking of that game, like Kucherov had a goal and an assist in game 1. Is he your pick at win? Do you want to go in another direction?
Well, I think if you don't go McKinnon, you absolutely should think about Kucherov. That's exactly what I was talking about when you had to pick and choose your spot. But for me, since I'm going with Mac, I'm going to look at Stamkos instead at 6,400. 5 points, 8 postseason contests, 3 of those assists coming with the man advantage here. And he's playing on both the top line and top power play unit with Kucherov. So it's a good way to get a share of Kucherov without having to pay up directly for him. So I think it's worth saving up and use McKinnon. If you don't want McKinnon, even if you got Barkov, you could figure out how to get Kucherov in here. So I do think it ultimately comes down to one or the other.
All right, Anna, you have 4 players here between $7,000, which is Kucherov, and then $6,200 Huberdeau.
So what about if you want to get the benefits of Nathan McKinnon, Nichushkin? Like, it has to be one of the best options on wing. He has goals in his past 3 playoff games, playing with Nathan McKinnon, who is one of the most dynamic postseason players out there, coming off of the best NHL season of his career, 52 points in 62 regular season games. And he's actually 6th in the NHL this postseason with shots on goal with an average of 4.8 per game. So he's definitely someone to keep an eye on. Kucherov, always a safe bet. He's a great way to go. But if you wanted to get all of the of McKinnon for a little less price, Nichushkin would be a good option.
All right, Paul, what's your strategy here at wing?
Well, look, Kucherov did have a big game. He looked very engaged. I think, though, there's an opportunity to save money on him and go for some of the other big boys. I'm not shying away from the Avs top line. They got combined 4 assists in game 1. I'm looking for some of those guys to hit the score sheet. So I'm all over Rantanen and Landeskog on the wings at $6,700 and $5,900 tonight. If you're going to shy away from McKinnon, I see no reason why you shouldn't spend the money to get his top playmates on the power play, and some guys that get regular shifts with them too. So those are my 2 guys that I recommend. And I also like Carter Verhaeghe for $4,000, one of the bargains on the board, considering that he was on fire in that first round. He's got 14 points in his last 10 games overall, and he only cost $4,000 on Barkov's wing. So I say that's a solid play tonight.
Well, what about back on the blue line, Paul? I mean, any bargains there, or is this a pay-up spot?
You know what? I'll give you one of each. I think there's a pay-up spot when you consider that situation. 2 of their defensemen scored goals, but neither one was Makar or Taves. Those guys each got 4 shots on goal in the first game. I think you could easily see a repeat because they're all over the shot volume charts on a regular basis, these 2 guys, and they won't miss out on the point parade that will come evening, I think. Taves is the cheaper of the 2, and that's the deciding factor for me, getting in the lineup over Makar for only $5,100 tonight. My expectation on the Panthers, I already said, I expect them to have a big performance. And so why not look at one of their defensemen, Mackenzie Weegar, for instance, $4,100 his price tag. That's pretty cheap for a guy who averaged almost 3 shots on goal per game and had over 40 points this year.
Yeah, Anna, can you justify paying $8,200 for Makar tonight? $1,600 more than the next guy.
For sure. And I think that he is a great option. Obviously, as Paul mentioned, there are a ton of great options on the Colorado blue line. But how about we shift over to the other series and talk about Aaron Eckland? It's time for the Eckland revenge tour. He wasn't in the postseason last time against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Florida's not going to want to go down 2-0 at home. So I could see him having a big night. He has 5 points in 7 games this postseason, 2 points in the regular season against the Lightning, and you've got to expect that he's going to make a big impact.
All right, AJ, what do you want to do on the blue line?
I'm going to stick with Colorado and go with Makar. The points are come here eventually. Again, I think he's worth it. This matchup is too good for Colorado for these top guys in both McKinnon and Makar to stay too quiet for too long. If you want cheaper, Samuel Girard, I think, is a good option. I think you're hitting when the iron is hot, obviously, with that goal. He's still under 3K. And this is a guy that has a solid offensive upside to his game. You look at his numbers, consistently a 20 to 30 point producer on the year. He just doesn't get all the same opportunities as he might with another team because of Makar and Tate, but I think he's still worth looking at. I probably wouldn't bank on Josh Manson getting another goal in the postseason. He's probably got his one lightning in a bottle situation.
All right, hockey heads, appreciate you. We'll see everyone tomorrow here. We'll catch up a little more. Right now, we got to do some NASCAR price check. Yes, we'll have Jeff and Pierce battling with their picks tomorrow. But right now, Pierce is going to break down some salaries for this weekend's NASCAR All-Star Race.
Welcome to the Price Check. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Let's look at the salaries for the All-Star Race at Texas. Whose salary jumped up this week? Ty Dillon, $5,100 to $5,800. He's not in the show. He'll have to qualify in through the open race. Not sure why he costs more. Todd Gilliland, 4,900 up to 5,500. Also not in the show. Probably not going to make it. Don't know why his price went up. What's up with the algo this week? Bubba Wall, 6,400 up to 6,500. Again, not in the race, but he can make it in. And if he does, he'll start in the back. There's going to be some place differential upside there. He might be too cheap. Whose salary dropped this week? Kevin Harvick, 8,700 down to 7,300. His car was a mess last week. Wholesale changes between the practice and the race, and he finished 15th. Martin Truex Jr., 10,400 down to $9,000. His car was fast last week, blew a tire, 2 speeding penalties, and yet he still drove through the field 2 times. Ryan Blaney, 9,100 down to 7,900. Qualifying is going to be important this week. Ryan Blaney's cars are typically very fast in Q trim. Favorite play of the week, Kyle Busch, 9,500. There's going to be a goofy pit road drag race. The pit crews will matter this week, and Kyle Busch has the best pit crew. They average a 10.9 second stop. Christopher Bell, 7,500. His JGR pit crew, they're going to be important, but also important qualifying laps. No one has been better on qualifying laps this season than Christopher Bell. All right, guys, check out DK Nation for all your DFS information and needs. If you have NASCAR questions, find me on Twitter at Race for the Prize. I'm Pierce Teacher. Catch me on DK Live.
Everyone, the Celtics and Heat meet again tonight for game 2. Before we dive into that, though, with Jeff Pratt, just a quick mention of yesterday, game 1 of the Western Conference Finals last night. Jeff, Maverick superstar here, dude, Luka Doncic. He entered this one like he's been playing some of the best basketball of his NBA career here, dude. And the Warriors, man, they were all concerned, like, how are we going to slow him down? And Klay Thompson's like, we got to play like a team and believe in one another. It's like, that's adorable. But it turns out they actually did shut him down. The Warriors held Luka, Jeff, to under 17% on contested field goal attempts. That's a career playoff worst. Like, that seems like a pretty good recipe for success and easy enough, right? Can they do this the rest of the series?
I don't think they can do this the rest of the series, but if they can contain him whatsoever, this is no contest. I mean, I think we were all thoroughly disappointed in Luka Doncic and what he did in game 1. He actually got some help on offense for once. 3 other guys scored in double digits, but what does he do? He scores 20 points on 6 for 18 shooting, only had 4 assists, which is really low for him, to go along with 7 turnovers and a team worst minus 30. Not only that,
terrible,
but he's playing horribly on both sides of the balls. He's constantly complaining to the refs. His head was just completely out of the game. He needs to be at his very best if the Mavs are going to win this series, and he was so far away from that. And then on the Warriors side, this was just a vintage Warriors performance. All 7 players who played 20-plus minutes scored double-digit points, 12 rebounds for Steph Curry. The ball movement was immaculate per usual. 6 players with at least 3 assists. That's a recipe for success for the Warriors, and that's just something that Dallas can't keep up with, especially if Luke is going to play like that.
Yeah, maybe the key for the Warriors is Luka having a pregame beer, like on game days, right?
It's got to be.
That picture floating around, and then the Mavs are like, no, that's an old picture, and everyone's like, I don't really know about that. All right, let's go to tonight. Yeah, because I was like, oh my God, he really is the Euro Michael Jordan. Like, he just balls out, and you can drink and play golf before games and be great.
Oh, man.
Let's go to tonight. It's just, these are your boys, dude. Also, I saw the breaking news. So Derek White, he's out tonight. He's having like a kid. What else should we know about like the injuries tonight, like with Horford and also Marcus?
Honestly, it's all pretty up in the air right now with the Celtics, just because they entered this series with multiple positive tests in their traveling party. Obviously,
Okay.
Horford, he's doubtful tonight. Sounds like he's not going to be able to go. Marcus Smart is probable, so he'll be back, and they'll need him because Derek White, yes, congratulations to Derek White. He is flying back to Boston for the birth of his child. Family's priority number one here, so give him props there. This is going to be they're going to have to rely on Peyton Pritchard a lot tonight, just like they have the last two games. He scored 4 points in Game 7 against the Bucks, 18 in Game 1 against the Heat. He shot very efficiently from 3. They're going to need that from him tonight. And if we know anything about Boston, it's that they've been extremely resilient this season. They've bounced back from early season struggles. They were down 3-2 Milwaukee against the Bucks. They were able to bounce back there. I'm confident that they can put this together. The problem is, will they have more positive tests? We don't know at this point. We're still waiting on that news to come in. So anything can happen between now and tip off.
Yeah, I think COVID-19 is now listed as the favorite on the DK Sportsbook as the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. They were great in that first half, dude. And you mentioned Pritchard. I think he had 10 of his points in the first half the other night in Game 1. So is there a quarter bet you like for this evening in this one?
Yeah, my favorite first quarter bet is actually over 50.5 points. I mean, the Heat and the Celtics hit that in all 4 quarters in Game 1. And these are two really strong defensive teams. But for whatever reason, they were getting now, except for the third quarter for the Celtics. But the Heat still carried them to hit the over there. The Celtics, they have a really good offense. Both of these teams pass and flow very well. They move the ball. And for whatever reason, the defenses weren't as strong as they had been all season. Maybe that's going to be the case for the rest of the series and we get a little bit more offense than we expect. But I think over 50.5 points is well within the realm of possibility in the first quarter.
Well, Jimmy Butler the other night, by the way, I'm like, why am I today old when I realize he's just like a 6'6" Jamie Foxx? When I look at like Jimmy Butler, dude had 41 points, like Jason Tatum had 29. So in terms of their props tonight, let's see, Butler's at 26.5, Tatum 28.5. Like, which one are you more confident in taking an over or under on here?
I'm more confident in taking over on Tatum to go over 28.5. He's going to step up again. The Heat had no answer for him besides putting Jimmy Butler on him, and that's just not sustainable throughout the entire game because he's going to get to foul trouble. Jason Tatum got to the line plenty. Both of these guys got to the line. And that's why I think that the over is definitely possible for both of them. I think 30-plus points, it's very realistic for Jason Tatum. We've seen him do it consistently throughout the postseason. And after that subpar second half, he's going to be eager to come out and prove the doubters wrong in this one. And I think Jimmy, he could score less than, 26.5, Emerson?
Yeah, it was. That's a prop.
I think he could score 26 tonight. But that doesn't necessarily mean the Celtics are going to lock him up. We've seen this from the Heat. When people think they're going to go one direction, they go another direction. I think that if Marcus Smart plays, it's going to be a personal point to limit Jimmy Butler. But at the same time, Jimmy Butler, the great facilitator, he could just be looking to get more guys involved tonight. We don't know. It's really just depends on what he feels like doing coming out of the gates. If he feels like being more of a passer, then he's not going to look to shoot that much. But we know he's going to take the shots in crunch time. So not confident. I think 26 is about right for him. Tatum, much more confident going over.
Yeah, and with Butler too, I forget how many of those points came at the line. Like that dude.
So many. I think he shot 18 free throws, something like that. Crazy.
Yeah. It's just like, that's his game. So maybe like the Celtics can avoid kind of, clanging and banging with them. I guess I don't really know. It just seemed like way, way too easy for him. Let's talk about a role player you believe who can like shine tonight, because I think Gabe Vincent was a different kicker with Lowry out. He put up 17 points and plus 23 there for the game. So who do you expect to maybe be a role player tonight that people could target?
I mean, we already talked about Peyton Pritchard earlier in the segment. It's got to be him for the Celtics. I mean, what's already been, they can't be elaborated on. 14 points in Game 7, 18 in Game 1. They need something like that. They need 14 plus from him tonight to carry the load offensively. And then with Al Horford still out, Grant Williams absolutely has to step up for the Celtics if they want to win tonight. Rob Williams is still catching his wind. You saw him pull up with cramps late in game one. People were worried about the knee, but he is okay. It's just cramps. But, they gave him a large workload, and he's been off for so long that they need to be able to rely on other bigs, and it's not going to be Daniel Tice. Yeah. He's getting absolutely bullied every time he steps on the floor. You don't need game 7 Grant Williams, where he went 7 for 18 from 3, but a solid defensive effort from Bam and 10 to 15 points on efficient shooting would do wonders for the Celtics tonight.
Grant Williams is acting like he's this all-star dude now. Like they mic'd him up. He's sitting there trying to fire up the team, and I'm like, relax, bro. You're a bench dude. You played hero in game 7, and then you're falling all over the place. You're all over the floor in game 1 against the Heat. Like, what are you doing?
It's so frustrating. Between Grant, he acts like he's a 10-time All-Star, and then Tatum also constantly pushing the refs. So a huge part of the NBA game is working the officials and being able to get on their good side. And between both of those guys, the officials are just so pissed off at them at the end of the first quarter that, I'm not going to say refs are going to win or lose games in the NBA, but Jimmy Butler went to the line 18 plus times. So you're not going to get the star treatment calls if you're Jason Tatum, if you're constantly whining, and Grant Williams is already making refs mad at your team. So it's a huge part.
Did I hear that some of the guys on the team have a nickname for Grant Williams, Grant Curry? For him, like
Jaylen Brown said that at the end of game 7. I hope every compliment that he gets clearly goes right to his head. This man has the most inflated ego in the NBA right now.
Oh, it's ridiculous. He shot like 17 of them in that game 7. Pratt, before you get out of here. So what's the bet tonight? Can the Celtics even up this series? Currently in the DK Sportsbook, as we're talking right now, the 3.5 point underdogs, and the totals at 207. They're plus 140 on the money line.
I take the money line here. I think just what we've seen from the Celtics all season is that they've been extremely resilient, as I touched on earlier. And I expect that trend to continue tonight. After dropping game 1 at home versus the Bucks, they came out and they blew them out. In game 2, going down 3-2 on the road in that series, they came back. They found ways to win 2 games in a row. I think that Boston is clearly the more talented team in this series. And maybe there's a case of the Heat in their head back from what they did to them in the bubble in the Eastern Conference Finals. But even without Al Horford and Derek White, if they can find the rhythm that they had in the first half of game 1, they should take this one. And then quickly, I also like Jaylen Brown over 23.5 points. He was horrible for the first 3 quarters of game 1, but he turned it up in the 4th, still found a way to finish with 24. I expect more of him tonight and for him to come out much more aggressive in the first quarter.
In regards to that 207 total, just one trend to maybe note as well, the over 8-3 in the last 11 innings between the Heat and the Celtics. Jeff Pratt. Yeah. Jeff Pratt, good hanging out with you, man. I hope everything turns out well for you tonight. You're just biting your fingernails off every game in this series. Okay.
Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we will. I look forward to seeing your face. We got one final break to go, one final block to go. We got some NFL guys here to look at some season specials on the DK Sportsbook after this. All right, we got a three-headed monster here. DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich, Reethi Fowler, Jeff Ulrich here. We're gonna look at some NFL specials on the DK Sportsbook. But I don't know. I got two of the gorgeous golf gurus here first, guys. The PGA Championship's underway. Rory currently in the lead. Hey, John Daly, baby, two back. Jeff Ulrich, come on, don't sleep.
Dude, we were talking about this yesterday, and we were talking about over-under props on one birdie for John Daly. He's got two in the first 4 holes. What is going on? This course definitely played a little bit easier. Glad I didn't take that one, but it was tempting to take the under.
It was funny. I was telling producer Drew that too during one of our breaks. I was like, man, Ulrich and I were like, yeah, definitely go like under on like the one birdie. Guy comes out and is just ripping cigs and sucking down Diet Coke.
On this round was like 84. Yeah, I mean, look, he could still go over that because he's John Daly, but pretty good at least.
Reed, you're upset with Cam Smith right now?
Uh-oh.
I mean, all this guy does is make putts when you have everyone around him, right? Like he just makes a ton of putts from everywhere. And the guy's missing 8-foot putts. Like, what's going on? What is going on? Double
magic beans. The magic beans have left, Reed. Sorry, pal.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, your boy Kuchar as well. Really good call there. It's really early. It is really early. Hideki Matsuyama did not pierce his FedEx or his back pain book, but he's all right. He's not even, I think.
Hey, Pierce Tiger's back's hanging in there right now. He's 1 under through 8. He's T10.
How many back surgeries has he had?
He's had
like 5.
Yeah, and remember, since the weather is like a little, it's a little warmer, like the cooler weather. He says it really sucks since his back fusion. But
a storm's coming, and so his back starts acting up. Is that one of those things? You know, Steve Kerr says that the worst mistake he ever made was back surgery.
Okay, well,
It's
I'll
amazing.
pass that along.
All Tiger had to do was read a book, and he'd have 30 majors right now. I mean.
Yeah, Pierce, next time you're tweeting out like all the books that are on your reading list, make sure you tag Tiger. Okay.
I'll do that.
DraftKings is a friend of his now too, since we were helping out with his charity recently. Guys, all right. So now we'll dial into the reason you are all here over on the DK Sportsbook. We're checking out some season specials here, NFL specials. We're going to skip that perfect season talk. Pierce, 17-0 for the Jaguars, plus 40,000. We know you've already sprinkled a little bit on that, but let's move over to your second favorite team, the Detroit Lions. Pierce, which team will Detroit get their first win against?
They're going to out the gates with the win. I know Jeff likes the Eagles, but plus 165 to beat the Eagles the first week. They're at home. Week one's always a really volatile week. We know from playing DFS and from gambling, you never really know what to expect from teams in week one. And we almost saw the Lions come back and win last year in week one against San Francisco. They have a pretty good shot. They're at home. And again, I'm just not going to keep mentioning this all off season. The Eagles are not a good team. Yes, they made it to the playoffs, but just look at their last 5 games, try to rewind your brain, remember what was going on. They played the Giants twice. They played Washington twice. Both those teams were decimated by injuries. Before that, they played the Saints, who were also dealing with tons of injuries. They went 4-1 and snuck into the playoffs. The Eagles just aren't a good team. I'm not a believer in Jalen Hurts, and I think the Lions are on the upward swing. Remember, they almost covered. They covered games, so they were always close. We're just asking for a couple more points for them to beat the Eagles. I think they can get it.
All right, but Reed, I think you were tweeting yesterday just how impressive the Eagles have been this offseason, right?
Yeah, in terms of their moves, right? In terms of what they can get. James Bradbury joins their team. And I kind of agree with Pierce is that the volatility of week one sans Sammy Watkins being the number 1 wide receiver in DFS. So make sure you play Sammy week one. Green Bay, right? He's got Aaron Rodgers, is the best quarterback of his career. So, yes, Detroit is good. They're good against the spread, right? They were amazing against the spread last year, if we remember, but they just straight up could not win a single game. Seattle at plus 650 right now, at home in Detroit. You got Drew Lock and Geno Smith. We'll get to a quarterback that I don't trust in a little bit, even more than those two guys. But, nothing really to worry about from a secondary standpoint, right, for Seattle. Lions rush D was terrible last season, and they didn't really do much to improve it this year. So when you have Philly, I believe Cleveland and Washington, right, are the first 3 games.
Yeah.
That is a murderer's row of running backs and rush offenses. That's a little bit scary. So I'm going to go Seattle plus 650. That's in week 4.
Okay, Jeff, their first 2 games at home. It's the Eagles, it's the Commanders. Then they're on the road at Reed's Vikings.
Yeah, look, I mean, I do like the Eagles, but I fully admit, like, they're still going to be a fairly volatile team because Jalen Hurts does turn the ball over. If you like him or not, he will throw in those stinker games where it's like, 70 yards, a couple turnovers, and the Eagles just can't score. But I think those will be fewer this year. And I'm not confident enough to take them week one. I do like the Lions, though. Like, I like them. They're not through the first 2 weeks without a win. I would take them week 2 against the Commanders. And I think the other way you can play it, play the spread, play the Lions to cover the spread week 1. That spread will probably get up to like +5, maybe +5.5, because the Eagles bandwagon clearly growing. They're signing players. I think a good team, but they're not a team that I necessarily like. I do agree with Pierce. It's a winnable game for the Lions at home. I think the Lions are going to be a good team as well, or at least like a solid team, perhaps even a 500 team, Pierce. So I'm going to take them week 2 to beat the Commanders. But maybe play them against the spread week 1, 2 against the Eagles. That's a good way to kind of cover yourself as well.
All right, Jeff, we could also talk about first loss for teams on the DK Sportsbook. There's some nice odds, as producer Drew points out here. Week 4, if you like the Bucks and Chiefs to enter that matchup, both 3-0, +1,000 for the Bucks to hit Chiefs their first loss, and +800 at the Chiefs get the best of the Bucks. What do you want to do here?
Yeah, I actually like looking at this Chiefs schedule here because this is a good one. I think you can kind of make some money here by betting this season special. You look at the first game. You're not betting against Andy Reid in the first game. That's just a fool's errand. That's not smart. He's going to have like 4 weeks to prepare his giant play card menu, and he's going to destroy the Arizona Cardinals. So that's a win. The Chargers, they get them at home. I'm not confident. I like the Chargers too, but I'm not confident enough to give them the win there. They're going to go in to the Colts 2-0. Now they have to play the Colts and the Bucks on the road 2 weeks in a row. They're probably going to lose one of those games. You bet both those teams. You weight your bets so that it's even money. You have to put a little bit on the Colts, obviously at +380. Then you are the Bucks +1,000. But you bet both those for losses. One of those, you're going to come out profitable. I like I definitely am confident week 1. All we're really sweating here is for them to get past the Chargers, and they're at home. I think they can do that. But there's definitely opportunity to take either the Colts or the Buccaneers as the first loss. And again, you bet them both. You weight your bets. I think you're going to be in a good spot.
Hey, Pearson, the Chiefs got off to a pretty rough start last season, though, didn't they? And now no Tyreek Hill.
Did someone say fool's errand? Well, here I am, and I will bet against the Chiefs in week 1. I know Andy Reid. You give him extra time to prepare. He's not supposedly. He's great. You can look at the numbers off of a bye week. He's awesome. He's amazing. But this is a new team without Tyreek Hill, and they're not really going to play together that much in the preseason. How many snaps is this new look offense going to have with Patrick Mahomes? Not very many. So Andy Reid can draw up everything he wants, come up with all these great ideas, but for all intents and purposes, this is kind of a new offense without Tyreek Hill, and there could be some trouble, especially with Arizona if they are healthy. We have seen that defense play pretty well. Also, week 1 every year, who do we love? It's Kyler Murray. At the beginning of the season, for whatever reason, they tend to unleash him and let him be the player that we want him to be. Eventually, he wears and they have to change their approach. But in week 1, you get a healthy Kyler Murray. We saw what he did last year. We saw what he did the season before that. He could absolutely eviscerate this Chiefs defense. If we remember, for half the season, the pass defense was pretty weak. They got it together, but they could come out the game weak again.
Yep. All right, so you get +140 odds there for them to lose to the Cardinals. But remember, no DeAndre Hopkins as well, Pierce, starting off. Yeah. Okay. Sweet Tea, who do you like in this department here?
Yeah. Again, I'm here to just, indict everything that Jeff says in the past because we all say things in the past that we regret. But this is the same guy who says he likes the Chargers to win the Super Bowl. And he's mentioned
no. I've literally never said that.
You've never said you think the Chargers are a Super Bowl team.
I think that they are a playoff team. They're not my pick.
Okay, even so, even a playoff team. To just spend 3 seconds and say Kansas City is going to beat the Chargers because they're at home. That's the only reason that you have. While I think history is that the Kansas City. Go ahead.
I mean, it's the Chiefs. Like, what? Are you just trying? Like, is it that big a stretch to say the Chiefs at home are going to beat the Chargers? Like, I don't think it's a big of. Are we crowning the Chargers to be like 17-0 here? I don't understand what's wrong with that statement. I mean, Andy Reid at home, I think he'll be favored there.
Again, there's a big difference with the Chiefs that they can't score as quickly. Like, or do we think this is going to be a shootout, right? The Chiefs and the Chargers, because that's where I think they get their first loss. And the Chargers +250 in week 2. look, the Chargers gave more protection to Justin Herbert in the draft. I'm not saying that's the only reason they can beat the Kansas City Chiefs, but this is a strong division. And with that being said, this is going to be a tough matchup for Kansas City. You're not going to be able to score that quickly. And again, if it's a shootout and they're down late, they can't give Travis Kelce the ball 18 times over the middle, right? It's just not the same. And I don't want to hear the Mecole Hardman is going to come in, replace Tyreek Hill. That is a bunch of you-know-what, because Tyreek Hill is one of the better receivers when it comes to getting down the field. So I think that's where they reached their first loss. And to Pierce's point, Arizona, the first 6 out of first 7 games, they scored 30 points, mind you. Like the first 4 games, they went over 30 points. So although Pierce is a fool for choosing Arizona, there is some facts based behind that fool's errand. So, but yeah, to just gloss over the Chargers, it's been easy in the past to do that. This year, I think it's a little bit different.
I wasn't glossing over them. I said we need to get past the Chargers. You're getting like a plus 600 bet to take their first loss as the Colts or the Bucks if you combine those bets. Obviously, there's some risk involved with the plus 600 bet, and the risk is they have to beat the Chargers.
You can almost triple your money if you choose the 2.5x your money if you choose the Chargers.
Well, Kansas City 3-point favorite on DK Sportsbook in that game against the Chargers. I think that's the doubleheader.
Basically, you pick them. You get the home field advantage line. Yeah.
Okay. How about, let's see, another regular season special, betting the regular season series matchups for division rivals. Okay. Yeah. Speaking of Chiefs Chargers here, y'all, we'll be locked in on the AFC West all season. You're giving up a little juice for each team to split their games. So which group's odds do you like to go 2-0 versus a divisional opponent this year, Reed?
I'm just going to go with my team here, the Raiders. Why not? Plus 475. I mean, Jeff talks about plus 600 bets that are inherently risky. This one is extremely risky over the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you take a look at
after what the Chiefs did to them last year.
Yeah, they've been destroyed by the Chiefs, and they were. I forget what the difference was in terms of their 2 games. It was like 94-7. Whatever it was. So you better be thinking the Raiders every season, not just this season, are circling these 2 games, right? And Pierce talked about their secondary. Look, Trent McDuffie is going to start for this secondary. It's not great. Like, who's going to guard Devontae Adams? I don't think he comes in there right away and becomes the Devontae Adams with Aaron Rodgers. But you have Hunter Renfrow, you have Darren Waller, and you have both of these defenses. Again, it could be a shootout. This entire division, AFC West, is extremely hard. Why not take the best odds at Vegas at plus 475?
Okay, Pierce, what do you want here?
Let's keep picking on the Chiefs. I'll take the Chargers to win both games for plus 290. Let me remind everyone, the last time that we saw the Chiefs play, up 21-3 going into the half, and they choked the game away. They were exposed in the second half of the AFC Championship game. If you can get pressure on Mahomes, he struggles. And now he's not even going to have Tyreek Hill as a safety valve. Hey, guess what? The Chargers have a pretty good pass rush. Chargers added a cornerback in J.C. Jackson. They added Khalil Mack to help with their rush defense. Their offensive line, they drafted in the first round the last 2 years. That's going to get better. The Chargers are for real. This is a solid team. And I know Jeff wants to now on his Super Bowl prediction. I'll take it. Chargers, Super Bowl.
There we go.
I got the Chargers. I got Jacksonville. Somehow both are going to win the Super Bowl.
This is absolutely incredible. Jeff Ulrich, we had 2 minutes to go in show. Feel free here to defend your Chargers. People just picking on them.
I mean, I'm very tempted to pick against the Chargers right now, but I mean, Reed is mad at me for picking the Chiefs to win a home game. I don't even know how that's a hot take, but I'm gonna stick with this theme. But I'm gonna go to the Broncos to beat the Chiefs twice this year. And here's the thing. Look at the Chiefs' schedule and when they play the Broncos. It's very important. You know who the Chiefs play the week before the Broncos? They play on the road at Cincinnati. Chiefs are going to be very keyed up for that game. It's a revenge spot. But guess who they have to play the week after? They have to go on the road at Mile High late in the year. They're going to lose that game because they're going to be exhausted from the week before. They're going to be on the road. And then week 17, the Broncos get the Chiefs at home. Again, Chiefs, this is typically when, teams who maybe are a little bit lacking wide receiver depth. Also, you've got Russ, probably into the offense. I'll take a flip there. I definitely like the spot for the Broncos to win the first meeting against the Chiefs at home. You're getting plus 370 for them to basically win the second one as well.
You guys, as technical director Matthew Cody points out, so according to our analysts, the Chiefs will be 0-6 in the division.
Yeah, get out of here, Chiefs. But long live the king. He's dead. Put down your pipe and smoke it, Andy.
This is amazing. This was the best segment we've ever done.
Really quickly, that's what teams do, right?
We have 30 seconds.
The only thing we've guaranteed today is the Chiefs are going 6-0 in the division. And we're all going to look like it.
Teams try to beat the teams that have beat them for the last decade. That's
Oh my God. All right, guys. More football coming up at high noon with Madden's Panthers and the Patriots. And then the slate tonight, Reezy Fowler will join Adam Kaufman there. I'm sure they'll look at what's going on at the PGA and talk a bunch of other stuff. Thanks everyone for hanging out. We're back in studio tomorrow morning. Love y'all. Mean it. Peace.
Be now 1 under.